Hey y'all, I'm back with my September 2025 reading wrap up, so stay tuned. Welcome back to Books with Kimberly. Don't forget to like, comment, share my channel, and subscribe. Y'all, I am back with my September 2025 reading wrap up. I read a total of 5 books. 2 of the books were audiobooks that I listened to on Cloud Library, and the other 3 books were Kindle reads. So let's get right into it. The 2 audiobooks that I listened to are a part of the Arranged Heart series that I have been listening to for the past couple months. The first one is Allure by Iesha Bree. This story was pretty good. It's about Nako and Allure. Allure is an artist. Nako is a football player. They both decide to be arranged in marriage where they meet their spouses at the altar. So I like this one and give it 4 stars. The next one is Desire by Kay Shanee in the Arranged Heart series. This one is about Mayor Azriel and Desire. They both separately sign up for the Arranged Hearts program, and then they end up getting matched to one another, which is weird because they had a crush on each other. Desire is the teacher of Mayor Azriel's daughter, and so he's basically getting married because he wants to do another term as the mayor, and he needs to be married because he's been seen with a bunch of women. They're trying to figure out if this marriage is legit or not. It has some good little messy drama, a love story, of course. So I give this one 4 stars. The next book was a Kindle read, and that is Saving Jacob by Tessa Stone. This is the 3rd book in the Fated Mate series. Y'all know I started off not really being a fan of that series, but book 2 was pretty good. And book 3 had me. I really enjoyed this one. So Saving Jacob is about Jacob, who is a werewolf. He has been in wolf form for 1,000 years, but then he meets a Bailey witch, which they hate the witches because the witches started this war between humans and shifters, and the witches turned their back on them. But one of the Bailey witches wanted to break the curse that kept them from being with their mates, and so her and Jacob are actually responsible for that curse being broken. And now it is his turn to find his mate. So he goes to Winter Moon and he is in search for his mate. His mate ends up being Angie, who works in the little cafe they have there. And her children find out that they are actually witches. Their powers were hidden from them. She has 4 children, which I thought was kind of weird. But it ends up being a very important part of the story and this prophecy that they need to fulfill. So I really love how that tied into it. And I love Jacob. He was just so accepting of her and the children. She was struggling with those kids as a single mother. Their father walked out on them, and you get more of that in this book as well. But she was just so tired, and Jacob was there to take that burden off of her. And he was just so hands-on with the children and really wanting to give her just a comfortable life and help and support her and love her. And she was just ready for it. She was. So it was a really good story. I almost gave this book 5 stars because it was a lot of drama. There's a big standoff that was really good. The only reason I'm not giving this book 5 stars is because there was something done with the plot to kind of stop the action that I didn't really like. Just when the action was getting really good and I was on the edge of my seat, it's like everything kind of halted. And I know the author did that so that can be tied up in the later books in the series, which is okay. That's the only reason I'm giving it 4 stars, but I really love this one. It was so good, and I'm definitely looking forward to continuing the series. However, the next book, I believe, is about King Amir, and he ticked me off in this book, and he just kind of gives like waste of space. I don't know. So I'm hoping his character has some development. The next book was urban fiction, y'all, and that is She the Reason by Nako. The book is about Yara and Kadeem. Yara and Kadeem are big into street life. What ends up happening is they get caught. The feds come knocking at their door, and they are both sentenced to 10 years in prison. Yara is screaming and crying because her and Kadeem are married and have 3 young children together, 3 daughters. And so they have to leave these girls and go to prison for 10 years. What's crazy is There was some kind of fluke in the case, and Kadeem ends up being released early, y'all. 9 years early. So he barely was in there for a year. Whereas Yara had to be in there her entire 10 years. And y'all, on top of all of this, Kadeem got a fiance. He ain't hold her down at all. So in this book, we get multiple perspectives, but mainly we get Yara, we get Kadeem, we get Kadeem's fiance, we get some perspective from the daughter as well. And then Kadeem's parents have their own storylines. So it's a lot of storylines that's intertwined in this book, but it was very captivating, y'all. I was on the edge of my seat of like, what is going to happen when Yara finds out? Because y'all, the whole time she was in jail, she thought Kadeem was too. Y'all, all Hell breaks loose. This was a good story. A lot of drama. This is the kind of urban fiction I like. Both of them were out of the street life for the most part. Yara started a new career in the music industry. We really get to see this rise of Yara, that even though her relationship failed, we really get to see her become the strong woman who she was in the streets. She becomes that woman when it comes to getting her daughters on the right path, and when it comes to starting her life over, getting her independence, starting a new career. Of course, we get a love story because Yara starts dating someone. I almost gave this book 5 stars because it just had me the whole time, and I just love me some Yara, her love story, and her just getting her life back in order. She did not let this mess, this betrayal from Kadeem break her, and it could have. What kept me from giving it 5 stars is because this is a book that has multiple perspectives. There were a few storylines in there that were not wrapped up the way they should have been. I have to mention this because I see a lot of people say that they don't like books that have pop culture references. Yara, being in the music industry, she wrote a heartbreak song, of course, about Kadeem. Y'all, she chooses Jasmine Sullivan, who is an up-and-coming artist at this time. And it just threw me off that she had a studio session with Jasmine Sullivan and she had to yell at her to sing this song with heart, really think about a broken heart and sing. I'm like, girl, this is Jasmine the Sullivan. She does not need you to get in the booth with her and be yelling at her to sing a song with heart and passion. Like, Jasmine Sullivan is all heart and passion. She could probably sing Happy Birthday with heart and passion because she's just that kind of singer. So that threw me off a little bit, and I was like, maybe this is why people be saying they don't like cultural references in their books. I give this book 4 stars, and it definitely made me want to read more from this author, which is why my last book of the month is a shorter novel, which is Giselle, Creme de la Creme by Nako. The main characters of this shorter story, Giselle, are Kasim and Giselle, and we actually get introduced to them in Is She the Reason? The book opens up with her finding out her mother passed away. She gets into a car accident, which is what leads to her leg being amputated. And the main plot is that Giselle, she's this billionaire woman who ends up falling for a street guy. I actually like that trope, but I was not the biggest fan of this. Kasim was still messing around with his baby mamas, and they were basically in a situationship for the majority of the book. So it wasn't this beautiful love story I was expecting. There really wasn't a plot. It was unrealistic. The love was there, but just not my cup of tea. So I gave this book 2 stars. I also want to mention that I decided to hard DNF Wicked Ties by Shanora Williams. This is the second book in her Tether series. The first book was Vicious Bonds, which I gave 3 stars. And I wasn't the biggest fan of the book, but I did have so many questions after reading the first book that I wanted to continue the series to see those questions be answered, but I just could not get into the beginning of Wicked Ties. And I said if it did not catch my attention in the first 15% of the book, I was gonna hard DNF it, and so that is what I decided to do. Y'all, that is it for the books that I read in the month of September. Get down in the comments and let me know what books you are reading this fall. And thanks again for tuning in to a Books with Kimberly video.